Every hour, a poker player is rivered or goes busto. They suffer alone and terrified, waiting for a better dealer to help. Hi, I'm Anthony Martino. Please say you'll be the answer for an unlucky poker player who's suffering right now. A player who needs your help. Please, call the number on your screen or go online and donate a monthly gift right now. For just $30 a month, only $1 a day, the price of half a big blind, you'll rescue poker players who are just running bad, provide bankroll care, food, shelter, and love. Call or join online in the next 30 minutes, and we'll send you a photo of the player you've sponsored and their Hendon Mob updates each month, showing all of their min caches after firing 5 bullets. This is your chance to say, I won't sit by while a poker player suffers. Right now, there's a poker player who needs you. Your call says, I'm here to help. Please, call or go online right now. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to my 6th PLO vlog. We're up to 75 subscribers now, and we continue to see growth each week.
Look, I can't die. I have 43 Twitter followers who depend on me.
My dream one day is that I can grow this channel large enough that I can afford to start punting stacks just like Rampage.
And then the past 2 days, I lost a whopping, ridiculous, an unbelievable amount of money that I thought was fathomable in the poker world, and an unrealistic number that I ever thought was possible. So, yeah, the total was like close to 150,000 in 2 days of poker.
This week we've got a special surprise. The final hand is going to be a mystery hand where viewers can guess what 4 cards and 4 suits I had, and you can win up to $50. So be sure to get involved with that. You'll be able to leave a comment on the video, and I'll announce the winner next week. And without further ado, we're playing 5-10 this week, a bunch of it, so let's get started. For our first hand, we're playing 5-10, and you'll notice we're sitting on a short stack of $480. In this game, the buy-ins are $600 to $3,000, and we bought in for the minimum of $600. And if you look around the table, you're going to notice that the next smallest stack is $2,700. The biggest stack is over $10,000, and the average stack size, not counting ours, is over $5,000. So the entire table is playing pretty deep, and you may be wondering why I'm opting to do the opposite. It's not because I learned it from George Costanza. I actually learned it from a player named Rolf Slotboom. Yes, that is his real name. He popularized a short stacking strategy that can be profitable when you're playing in a game with lots of deep stacked aggressive opponents. The basic concept is that you sit to the right of an aggressive player, the type that is likely to raise pre-flop frequently and not get much respect for their raises, so the rest of the table is going to look them up. Then you pick a hand that should have decent equity, and you drop the hammer, reshoving for your stack. You're all in, and you have no difficult decisions to make post-flop. You can't be bluffed off your equity, and you're guaranteed to see a showdown. A lot of times you'll pick up multiple callers in that scenario, and all of those players still have a lot of money left to play for. So post-flop, it's possible that one of them will take the aggressive route, betting or raising and pushing other players out. And this is what you want to happen. This will mean you'll only have to go to showdown against one other hand. But when you win, you'll be tripling, quadrupling, or quintupling your stack. It's a great risk versus reward situation to be in. Now, it doesn't always work. Sometimes those players won't do that betting for you and you may have to show down against multiple hands. But usually in these aggressive games, someone's going to push other players out. And so it can be a really good strategy to employ in these type of situations. Now, the downside is that you can't push anyone off their equity because you're already all in. So you're taking a higher variance route in exchange for the possibility of a nice reward when you win and limited losses when you lose. Now, I prefer to play deep stack because opponents make larger mistakes post-flop, and I like to take advantage of that. Still, some days you want to play on easy mode, and this is how you do it. Seven-handed, we're under the gun +1 with ace, queen, jack, 9 suited to the queen in spades. This isn't a great hand because our ace isn't suited, and we have 3 spades, so it hurts our chances to make the flush. But the hand has enough connectivity and high card strength that on a short stack, I'm willing to play it in this spot. Under the gun folds, and we call $10. And unfortunately, no one takes the bait. The next 2 players call, and both blinds come along. So we're going to see a flop of King 10-7 rainbow with no spades. Both blinds check over to us. And this is a pretty strong flop for our hand. We have a complete wrap straight draw. There's no flush draw present to be concerned about. And while we don't have a pair, we can hit any ace, queen, jack, 9, or 8 to make the nuts, giving us 16 clean outs. So we're going to lead right out for the full pot of $50. And the next player to act repots us to $200. When it folds around to us, we aren't going anywhere with 16 outs twice, so we rip it in and we get snap called. Unfortunately, our opponent is at the top of his range. He shows up with the King 4-3, so he's flopped top set. Luckily, he doesn't block any of our outs, so we still have 44% equity here for stacks with some dead money. He only runs once, so we're hoping to hit and hold on the turn. The turn comes the 5 of clubs, which is really bad for us because our opponent has just picked up the club flush draw in addition to his top set. That's going to kill all of our club outs, leaving us with only 11 outs going to the river. We do make Broadway on the river, but it's not the jack we wanted to see as it's a club, and we're going to get scooped here.
Oh, come on!
In this hand, under the gun +1 limps in for $10, and the next player, who is someone we haven't played with before, raises to 45. It folds around to us in the small blind, and we look down at the ace, king, king, jack suited in spades to the ace. This is a fantastic hand because we have the ace blocker, suitedness, a high pair, and connectivity between all 4 cards. But we are in the small blind and we are playing deep. And while we cover the rest of the table, our 2 opponents who have position on us are both playing 120 to 150 big blinds deep. If I had more information on the raiser, I could consider a repot here, but that would only be to $155. Assuming both our opponents call, we'd have a pot of $465 and be out of position facing 2 opponents who both have more than 2 times the pot remaining in their stacks. I'm worried it narrows down our range too much and allows our opponent to play with an informational and positional advantage against us, while not creating that 1-to-1 stack to pot ratio I prefer when I do take the raising route. So I'm going to call, and that will help disguise my hand and keep the pot size manageable. We go 3 ways to a flop of 7-7-2 with 2 diamonds. And on the surface, this is a pretty decent flop for us. The raiser shouldn't have a 7 in his range, so his strongest hand in this spot I would expect to be aces or the nut flush draw. Myself and the other limper are more likely to have a 7 on our ranges in this spot. I decide to check it, and it checks around. The turn is an offsuit jack, and while it didn't improve our hand, based on the flop action, I expect our kings are good here. In addition, we still have the range advantage of having a 7 in this spot, and we can also have jack-jack in the hole as well. So I lead out for $78 into the $145 pot. And you may wonder, why such an odd bet size? Well, it's because the software I play on has a slider, and it's a pain in the butt, that's why. Only the original raiser calls our bet. The river comes the ace of diamonds, and while we aren't thrilled to see the ace hit, we do have an ace in our hand, so there's only one combo of aces our opponent can possibly have. In addition, our opponent didn't bet the flop when the flush draw was present, when he was the pre-flop aggressor and last to act, so I doubt he has a flush. Still, I'm not quite sure what our opponent has here, so I decide to check for pot control. I don't think I can get a ton of value out of worse hands by betting, but I can certainly lose more money by betting and getting raised. I think my best option is to check and control the pot here, and try to get to showdown or give him an opportunity to try and bluff. With $301 in the pot, we check, and our opponent makes a $120 bet. And given we block jacks or aces full, and our opponent is unlikely to have a flush or a random 7 here, since he didn't bet the flop, I think we have a fairly clear-cut call at this price. So we make the call and get the bad news. that blockers don't mean shit in this game. Our opponent reveals ace, ace, 7 deuce, and he was ahead the whole way. But at least we avoided doubling him up completely.
Why do bad things happen to good people?
Still playing 5-10 7-handed, we're sitting on a stack of close to $3,000 and it folds to us in the hijack. We look down at the Queen Jack 9-5 double suited. We've got some connectivity, and the suitedness is nice, but this is definitely not a great hand. Still, this session wasn't going our way, and we're feeling like getting a little frisky, so we raise it up to $35. Warning, do not try this at home. The cutoff calls our raise on a short stack of 650, and the unknown player who got us with aces previously calls from the big blind. The flop comes down King, King, 3 rainbow. The big blind checks it over to us, and given I have a fairly tight image, this board is certainly going to favor my range. With $110 in the pot, I lead for half pot, and only the big blind calls. Well, that's not good. The turn is an offsuit ace, and once again our opponent checks it over to us. I'm worried our opponent may have a king in his hand here, leaving us drawing slim or possibly dead. But given I have a tight image and I raise pre-flop, the ace is certainly a scare card if he has a random king that hasn't filled up yet. When he checks it over to us, I'm going to continue telling my story. And again, I bet half pot. We breathe a sigh of relief when our opponent folds, and we get the bluff through. As a self-proclaimed tight-ass nit, it feels good when I run a bluff and it works out. Score 1 for the good guys.
You folds it. Yeah. Sick luck. Turned the double gutter and missed. Never mind. 9 high like a boss.
Once again, we're 7-handed at 5-10. The entire table is sitting with stack sizes of at least 100 big blinds deep, with a few players including myself in the 200 to 300 big blind range. Under the gun, a solid player limps for $10. We're under the gun +1 with ace, queen, 10-4 suited to the ace and clubs. This is a decent but not great hand. All of our cards connect in some way to make straights, and we have decent high cards and a suited ace, but there are multiple gaps separating our cards, weakening it somewhat. Nevertheless, it's certainly playable, and we call for $10. We wind up going 6 ways to a flop of 10-8-5 with 2 clubs. Both blinds check over to the solid player under the gun who bets pot of $60. And with top pair, top kicker, and the nut flush draw, plus some backdoor straight outs, we have the nut draw here, so I'm fine with letting other players come along, as it increases the chances someone else chases a weaker flush, and they pay off when it hits. So I just opt to call. We go 3 ways to a turn, which comes the 3 of hearts, putting a second flush draw out there, and now the solid player checks to us, and here is where I think I fuck up the hand. If a solid player had flopped a set, he'd likely continue firing to protect his hand from all the draws. But when he checks a relatively blank turn card, he's saying he has some sort of draw, or maybe 2 pair that's concerned he's run into a set. The 3 gives us additional equity, as we can hit a deuce to make the wheel, so I should be pouncing in this spot and betting the pot to apply max pressure, as we have plenty of equity with our draws. But instead, like a dumbass, I check, and the aggressive player on my left bets the pot of 240. The solid player calls the 240, and now I'm in a pickle. I don't think the 3 help the guy who bet. I block a lot of the draws, and I block top set. Given their smaller stack sizes, I think I should just be ripping it in here. I don't think the better is all that strong, and it's likely he'll fold to my shove. And if the solid player calls, we've got decent equity and some dead money in the pot. He might have flopped top 2 pair here, maybe a straight draw with it, but the clubs win for us, and if he has top 2 pair, the ace or queen on the river might be good too. But once again, I fuck it up and just call, playing way too passive in this spot. The river is the 7 of hearts, completing a backdoor flush and multiple straights. We both check over to the aggressive player, who bets roughly half his stack, putting out $400. The solid player lets it go, and we wind up folding as well. I definitely think we need to be betting that turn, or check shoving as played in this spot, but let me know in the comments down below how you'd play it.
But the hand! You're a professional. You're not meant to play like that.
Once again, we're playing 7-handed, 5-10, and it folds to us under the gun +1 with ace, ace, 8 deuce, suited in spades to our 8. Now these are what we in the biz call shitty aces. Neither of our aces is suited, and the 2 connects with our aces to make a wheel draw, but if the board is 3, 4, 5, we're going to have the idiot end of the straight. And in PLO, you don't want to be the guy who has the idiot end of anything. The 8 doesn't connect at all with the other cards, and an 8 high flush isn't a hand I'm going to stake my bankroll on. So in reality, you're really only playing a 2-card hand here with the aces, and in PLO, you're handcuffing yourself when you don't have 4 cards that work together. Still, it's aces, right? We can't just fold them, so we call the $10. We go 4 ways to a rainbow flop of King Queen 6. Both blinds check over to us, and while we haven't hit this board, it's certainly one that can be in our range. And with only the cutoff behind us to worry about, if we bet and we can fold him out, I expect the blinds will follow suit most of the time, and we can just take this one down. The flop is likely going to be my best shot to win this hand, so I lead out for the pot of $40. Our plan almost works, as the cutoff does fold, but the small blind calls. The turn comes the ace of spades, and our opponent checks it over to us. So we've improved a top set, and we picked up a backdoor flush draw. And while those are certainly things to be happy about, this turn card is not as benevolent as it appears. We have to consider that the small blind is check calling a pot-sized bet when out of position, and Jack 10 is a real possibility here. So while we improved, it's possible our opponent hit his gin card. If we bet and get raised, we'll want to puke, because we still have some great equity with our flush and full house outs. So I opt for pot control, as our opponent still has over $1,600 in his stack, and I check it over. The river is the ace of diamonds.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
We have rivered quad aces, the stone cold stunner, and now our opponent leads into us for $68? Who you trying to get crazy with, eh? Don't you know I'm loco? Well, buddy, $68 just won't do. I make it $176, and he lays it down.
Wow.
Mystery Hand Extravaganza! For this one, we're going to do a little contest. As you can see, I've blacked out my hand, and I'm going to just call the action. I want you to figure out what my hand is. And to sweeten the pot, I'm going to pay whoever gets closest to guessing my hand $25. I'll even bump that up to $50 if you not only guess all 4 cards, but the suits as well. Alright, so let's get this started. There are 4 limpers, and we're in the blinds on a stack of over $2,600. We check our option, and the flop comes down 6-3 deuce with 1 spade and 2 hearts. It's checked around to the hijack, a player we don't have any history with, who bets the pot of $50. We're the only caller from the big blind. The turn is the 8 of spades, and once again we check, and our opponent bets $150, the full pot. Once again, we call the pot-sized bet. There's $450 in the pot, and the river pairs the board with a 3 of clubs. Now we lead out for $200, and our opponent folds. So now comes the fun part. What 4 cards did I have? Leave a comment on this video with your guess. Only 1 guess per person, and any comments that show they've been edited won't qualify, so make your first guess count. The person who comes closest to guessing the 4 cards I had, I'll send you $25. And if you manage to guess all 4 cards and the suits, you get $50. Leave those comments below, and I'll reveal the results of the hand and the winner in the next episode.
It's gonna be a surprise?
Yeah, Sue, he just said that.
God, I freaking love surprises. I love them.
So you got to see a variety of spots this week with me running bluffs, fucking up a hand I should have been betting and probably would have won if I had. I'm going to give it all to you guys, the good, the bad, the ugly. If you're hungry for more PLO content, there's a great guy out there. His name is Wayne. He posts on YouTube under Donkfish Poker. He's been posting live PLO content for a while, and he's really come up in stakes and in skill level since I've been watching him. It's been great to see his growth as a player and as a vlogger. So definitely check out his channel, give him a like, give him a subscribe, and I'll have a link to his channel in the description down below. I can't wait to see what everyone's answers are for the 4 cards that I had and the suits. Be sure to comment and leave your answer down below. I'll be announcing the winner in next week's episode, and you could win up to $50. And that's going to be a wrap for this week. We'll see you in the next episode.